Today, I want to focus on a topic I've already covered on the podcast this week about the importance of defining a goal, setting a goal for your English learning, but then once set, you forget about the goal and focus on your systems. Your systems are the actions, the habits, the routine you're going to put into place to make that English learning goal a reality. And we're going to be doing that by reading a little bit of the book I mentioned this week in the podcast, Atomic Habits by James Clear. Hey everybody, how's it going? Thiago here, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. In case you're new here, I've created this podcast and YouTube channel to help intermediate and advanced learners of English communicate with more confidence, more accuracy, more clarity, and more awareness. If this sounds like something you want for yourself and your English, subscribe to the channel here on YouTube and follow the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so you don't miss a single new episode. Registrations for my conversation club are officially open. Classes begin in August 2024 and run until November 2024. To participate, you need to be at an intermediate level of English already, a B1 level of English, and you need to be available at 7:30 p.m. BRT, that's Brasilia time, every Tuesday to participate in the live sessions. If you want to learn more about the Conversation Club, the links are all here in the description of the video, also as a pinned comment below on YouTube, and on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can find the link in the show notes of this episode. Also, if you're looking to improve your pronunciation considerably, consider checking out my pronunciation course, which is available on Phrasal. This is a recorded course I've made to help you learn the main sounds of the English language and the main connected speech patterns that native speakers use in media and in real life. This knowledge will help you better understand natives in real life and in media, and also speak with more clarity, more flow, more fluency when it comes to your speaking skills. So check out the course at a very special price right now. It's a pre-sale, discounted price. Again, link in the description, in the pinned comment, and in the show notes on Spotify. All right, so this week in the podcast, I talked about some things that I wish someone had told me back when I was a beginner English student. And one of the things that I wish someone had told me was enjoying the process, the importance of enjoying the process. Now, when it comes to enjoying your English learning process, it's important that you set a goal, but then after that, you forget about the goal and you actually focus on the process to get to that goal. And then I mentioned the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. This is a great book that's going to help you build better habits in your life and get rid of bad habits in your life. And I have here in front of me chapter 1 of the book. The great thing is that the author, James Clear, makes chapter 1 of his book available for free on his website. So I'm just going to read a small portion of chapter 1 for you today, but it's a 20-page chapter. So I really recommend you go to James Clear's website later and download the entire chapter 1 for free for you to read everything. And of course, buy the book if you like it, because it's a really interesting book. I really recommend it. I'm going to leave the links here in the description of the video for you to both go to his website and download the free chapter, okay? And also I'm going to leave the link to the Amazon website in case you want to buy the book already. I highly, highly recommend it. So today I want to expand a bit more on this idea of forget about goals and focusing on the systems instead. So I'm going to read exactly the portion of chapter 1 of this book that talks about this. And as I read, I'm going to be making some comments and defining some words that I find interesting, okay? So enjoy the read. Forget about goals. Focus on systems instead. Prevailing wisdom claims that the best way to achieve what we want in life, getting into better shape, building a successful business, relaxing more and worrying less, spending more time with friends and family, is to set specific, actionable goals. For many years, this was how I approached my habits too. Each one was a goal to be reached. I set goals for the grades I wanted to get in school, for the weights I wanted to lift in the gym, for the profits I wanted to earn in business. I succeeded at a few, but I failed at a lot of them. Eventually, I began to realize that my results had very little to do with the goals I set and nearly everything to do with the systems I followed. What's the difference between systems and goals? It's a distinction I first learned from Scott Adams, the cartoonist behind the Dilbert comic. Goals are about the results you want to achieve. Systems are about the processes that lead to those results. If you're a coach, your goal might be to win a championship. Your system is the way you recruit players, manage your assistant coaches, and conduct practice. If you're an entrepreneur, your goal might be to build $1 million business. Your system is how you test product ideas, hire employees, and run marketing campaigns. If you're a musician, your goal might be to play a new piece. Your system is how often you practice, how you break down and tackle difficult measures, and your method for receiving feedback from your instructor. Let's take a pause here a little bit and add English learning to this list. If you are an English learner, your goal might be to speak English fluently and effortlessly. Your system is how often you practice your English, how you break down and tackle difficult situations that will likely arise in your English learning process and journey, and your method for getting feedback from people, from your teacher, and how you study. So your system to learning English in this case is all about the mechanics, the actual habits, the actual things you do day after day to get to that goal of reaching fluency. This is a nice word, by the way, to tackle a situation or to tackle difficult measures or difficult situations. To tackle something means to deal with it, okay? So you will likely encounter challenges in your English learning journey, but it's important that you know how to tackle them, how to deal with them in an effective manner, okay? Let's continue here. Now for the interesting question. If you completely ignored your goals and focused only on your system, would you still succeed? For example, if you are a basketball coach and you ignored your goal to win a championship and focused only on what your team does at practice each day, would you still get results? I think you would. The goal in any sport is to finish with the best score, but it would be ridiculous to spend the whole game staring at the scoreboard. The only way to actually win is to get better each day. In the words of 3-time Super Bowl winner Bill Walsh, the score takes care of itself. The same is true for other areas of life. If you want better results, then forget about setting goals. Focus on your system instead. What do I mean by this? Are goals completely useless? Of course not. Goals are good for setting a direction, but systems are best for making progress. A handful of problems arise when you spend too much time thinking about your goals and not enough time designing your systems. Really powerful, isn't it? I love this analogy he makes here with sports. Yes, you want to win the game, but it would be ridiculous to spend the whole game staring or looking at the scoreboard. That's going to take your focus away from what actually matters to win, which is to play. Your focus should be on the game itself, on playing, doing your best, collaborating with your teammates, right? The score will take care of itself. So bring that to English learning. Instead of always looking at the scoreboard, right? At the goal, I want to be fluent. How can I be fluent? I want to get fluent. Focus on the actual game of studying every day, practicing every day, enjoying the process, of course. I love that. And he ends this part here talking about goals. Goals are good for setting a direction. So yes, absolutely. First, you define your goal with English. That's going to set your direction. But once you define that goal, much better for you to worry about your systems. Okay? So let's continue here. Now, I believe he's going to start listing some problems with focusing too much on goals and not so much on how you get to those goals. In other words, on your systems. Problem 1. Winners and losers have the same goals. A powerful statement. Winners and losers have the same goals. Goal setting suffers from a serious case of survivorship bias. We concentrate on the people who end up winning, the survivors, and mistakenly assume that ambitious goals led to their success while overlooking all of the people who had the same objective but didn't succeed. Every Olympian wants to win a gold medal. Every candidate wants to get the job. And if successful and unsuccessful people share the same goals, then the goal cannot be what differentiates the winners from the losers. It wasn't the goal of winning the Tour de France that propelled the British cyclists to the top of the sport. Presumably, they had wanted to win the race every year before, just like every other professional team. The goal had always been there. It was only when they implemented a system of continuous small improvements that they achieved a different outcome. So let's take a little break here now. So his first point is winners and losers have the same goals. All right? Bringing that to English learning, everybody wants to be fluent in English. Everybody wants to learn English successfully. Everybody has this goal, let's say. But why do some people make it? Why do some people get there and others don't? His point is because even though they have the same goals, one of them has better systems in place, has better systems, better ways to achieve that goal. Nice word here, bias. He starts by saying that goal setting suffers from a serious case of survivorship bias. When you are biased towards something, you are inclined to one side, more to one side than the other. In other words, you are not impartial. You are not neutral. So we tend to be biased when it comes to goals, winners, and losers. We tend to only focus or only look at one type of person, the person who wins. But we forget that for every one person that wins, there are many other people with the same goal that don't win. This is our bias. We only look at the winners, right? But if they have the same goal, why only that one person got the goal and not the rest? His point is the other person had better systems in place. Okay? Let's continue here now. Now he's going to list problem 2. Check it out. Problem 2. Achieving a goal is only a momentary change. Imagine you have a messy room and you set a goal to clean it. If you summon the energy to tidy up, then you will have a clean room. For now. But if you maintain the same sloppy, pack-rat habits that led to a messy room in the first place, soon you'll be looking at a new pile of clutter and hoping for another burst of motivation. You're left chasing the same outcome because you never changed the system behind it. You treated a symptom without addressing the cause. Nice analogy here about your messy room. First of all, to summon the energy. Great word. When you summon the energy to do something, you gather, you collect all the energy you have inside of you to do that. And to tidy up your room means to clean your room, to organize your room. Okay? So you can clean your room at that moment. Great. But if you keep with the same habits, the same, let's say, messy habits that led to the room getting disorganized in the first place, pretty soon you're going to have a disorganized room again. Got it? So his point is treat the cause, not the symptom. All right? Achieving a goal only changes your life for the moment. That's the counterintuitive thing about improvement. Something counterintuitive is something that goes against our intuition. Our intuition says that this is the best course of action. But if something is counterintuitive, actually what we think is the best course of action is not the best course of action. So it's counterintuitive. All right? We think we need to change our results, but the results are not the problem. What we really need to change are the systems that cause those results. When you solve problems at the results level, you only solve them temporarily. In order to improve for good, you need to solve problems at the systems level. Fix the inputs, and the outputs will fix themselves. So for example, bringing that to English learning here, think about a person who has had a on and off relationship with English. The person starts a course, studies for 3-4 months, quits. 6 months later, the person comes back, now with a private English teacher, has classes for 2-3 months, quits. And then 1 year passes, the person enrolls at a language school. And the person says, okay, now I'm gonna make it happen. The person goes to classes twice a week for 6 months, a year, quits and stops. So what is the problem here? This person is not addressing more fundamental things within him or herself as to why this happens. Maybe this person hasn't really defined a strong enough reason or why he or she wants to learn English. So after a few months, it's easy to get discouraged and quit, right? And then the person believes that by enrolling at another class, by taking private classes with a teacher, that's gonna change the situation for her or for him. But you see, this is an example of thinking only at the results level, not at the systems level. Or the person takes formal English classes for years, but never feels fluent. And then when you investigate, you realize that the person doesn't have the habit of studying English every day by him or herself, doesn't do anything else with English, only takes the classes. You see, that's a systems problem. The system that person has for learning English is deficient. So the person is not going to get the results they're looking for. Problem 3, goals restrict your happiness. The implicit assumption behind any goal is this: once I reach my goal, then I'll be happy. The problem with a goals first mentality is that you're continually putting happiness off until the next milestone. This is actually the quote I used in this week's episode of the podcast. I've slipped into this trap so many times, I've lost count. For years, happiness was always something for my future self to enjoy. I promised myself that once I gained 20 pounds of muscle, or after my business was featured in the New York Times, then I could finally relax. Furthermore, goals create an either-or conflict. Either you achieve your goal and are successful, or you fail and you are a disappointment. You mentally box yourself into a narrow version of happiness. This is misguided. It is unlikely that your actual path through life will match the exact journey you had in mind when you set out or when you started your journey. It makes no sense to restrict your satisfaction to one scenario when there are many paths to success. A systems-first mentality provides the antidote. When you fall in love with the process rather than the product, you don't have to wait to give yourself permission to be happy. You can be satisfied anytime your system is running. And the system can be successful in many different forms, not just the one you first envision. You see? So again, bringing that to English learning, design a system for you to study English every day a little bit, for you to practice your English a little bit. Think, how can I practice my English every day? What are the things I'm going to do every day to practice my English? Is it listening to a podcast every day on the way to work? Is it studying with a grammar book? Is it finding someone to practice my speaking skills with? Maybe hiring a private teacher for that? Or joining a conversation club? Right? So think about the things you're going to do day in, day out to get your goal of English fluency. It's also what I say about celebrating your small wins. If you are able to spend a week following the plan you created for yourself to study English every day, to practice your English every day, that's a small win. Celebrate that. You see, be happy with that win. Problem 4. Goals are at odds with long-term progress. When something is at odds with something else, they are fighting against each other. They are in conflict. They are at odds with each other. So goals are at odds with long-term progress. In other words, they are in conflict with long-term progress. They don't gel well together, okay? Finally, a goal-oriented mindset can create a yo-yo effect. Many runners work hard for months, but as soon as they cross the finish line, they stop training. The race is no longer there to motivate them. When all of your hard work is focused on a particular goal, what is left to push you forward after you achieve it? This is why many people find themselves reverting to their old habits after accomplishing a goal. The purpose of setting goals is to win the game. The purpose of building systems is to continue playing the game. Powerful, isn't it? Let me read that part again. The purpose of setting goals is to win the game. The purpose of building systems is to continue playing the game. About English learning is not a finish line. You are always learning all your life. It's a lifelong endeavor. You are always getting better, always improving, learning a new word here, improving your fluency there. You know, it's not a finish line. So to continue playing the game of English learning and English practice, you need to build systems for that. Just having goals is not going to be enough. True long-term thinking is goal-less thinking. It's not about any single accomplishment. It is about the cycle of endless refinement and continuous improvement. Ultimately, it is your commitment to the process that will determine your progress. Very powerful, isn't it, guys? So, you see, don't focus so much on having goals for your English, but commit to a lifelong of continuous improvement. Yes, you will achieve many small goals along the way. You will get that job at a multinational company that you want. You will be able to make a video in English, no problem. You will be able to have a presentation fully in English, no problem. You will have small wins, you will have milestones and small goals being reached, all right? But the secret is in the continuous practice, the continuous development. And for that, you need good systems. All right, guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed reading this small portion of the book Atomic Habits with Me by James Clear. I hope this portion that we read together today gave you some food for thought about your English learning. And again, I highly recommend to go to James Clear's website and download the entire chapter 1 for you to read it. And buy the book. It is a great book that's going to definitely change the way you look at goals, success, progress, and habits in your life. All the links you can find here in the description of the video on YouTube or in the show notes if you are listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to learn more about my conversation club if you are available on Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. BRT for the classes, and if you are already a B1 level speaker. And check out also my pronunciation course available on pre-sale. All the links you can find in the pinned comment here under the video on YouTube, in the description box, and also in the show notes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks for listening until now. I'm Thiago, I'm signing off, and I'll be talking to you very soon in the upcoming video. Happy Sunday.